How blind are we to martial arts absurdity? This is Jamie Clubb from Clubb Chimera Martial Arts. If you like the content of this vlog, please like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below. Hello, many of you will know me to be a martial arts skeptic and a champion of critical thinking in martial arts teaching, training and learning. I wrote the book Wrong Fu, which serves as a prequel to Bullshitsu and the Fight to Make Martial Arts Work, which is still in production at the moment. In Wrong Fu, there's a chapter at the beginning that addresses critical thinking. And the way I look at it is that we live in an information-rich time and a misinformation-rich time. We've got accessibility to a huge amount of data with lots of different answers to certain questions. And if you haven't got the education and the underlying experience in a certain discipline, it's very, very easy to be pulled off in wrong directions, particularly if those answers seem a lot more simple and a lot more straightforward, and most importantly, if they're attached to your own personal biases. And from a martial arts subcultural perspective, this is very important. Human beings are pack animals by nature. We form our own associations and groups, and martial artists, like all other members of society, have their own clubs, have their own styles, have their own individual martial arts. And that's fine, and as I said, it's in alignment with anywhere else in society. It can be hugely beneficial, it can be very progressive, it can be very productive in a good way. However, the problem lies in inerrancy of the leader. If the students suddenly decide that their leaders are without error and everything they say is correct, and that leader has very unmovable ideas and leads them in that direction, and we can make a comparison with a religious cult. Apocalyptic cults derive their strength by making predictions. They predict the end of the world. They predict a dramatic event that is going to change existence. And their followers heavily invest in this. And they await this day, and they're prepared, and they do everything their teacher tells them to do to get ready for this particular day. When this event doesn't occur, certainly from as far as everyone else is concerned, it hasn't happened, that this leader has been proved to be a fraud, rather than turning against their leader, they double down on their beliefs. And this is an amazing phenomena to most people watching on. How can these people suddenly be even more invested in this follower who's shown to be a liar or completely crazy? Well, the reason for that is that it's far more uncomfortable when you've invested in something to suddenly realise that it's a load of nonsense, because those people have identified with that. They've made a personal connection with that particular event. So it's incredibly difficult now to admit to the fact that this person is a fraud or completely insane. And we find the same with martial arts. Martial artists, to a lesser scale, they invest heavily in certain techniques and certain methods and concepts, and when those concepts or methods are proven not to be effective, rather than moving on into another system and dismissing what's being taught to them, or at least understanding that their teacher is in error in this particular instance, they double down and they decide that any excuse that's being offered is far more comfortable than the reality that seems to be facing them at that particular time. So that's an example of the sort of cognitive dissonance that's faced by martial artists, and why martial artists still continue to believe in these strange things. First of all, they don't know what to believe because they're given so much different types of information that's available to them. And if they invest in an individual or a system enough for a longer length of time, it's going to be harder for them to be deprogrammed, shall we say, or move away from that particular system or style's ideas, particularly if they've got friends, particularly if they've invested so much time, money, effort into practicing that particular system. And as a cross trainer, I should probably have less empathy for people like that, but I believed all sorts of nonsense as well. In fact, that's why I wore this t-shirt today. This t-shirt takes me straight back to my roots. I ordered it, and I love it. It's the tattoo of the comic book character Storm Shadow and his brother-in-arms Snake Eyes from the Action Force or G.I. Joe line of toys and comics that I grew up with in the 80s. Again, this is an important point as well. I don't think being sceptical and being a critical thinker means that you're now completely dismissive of all fiction out there or mythology. I love mythology. I'm a big fan of mythology. I like to study it more. I wish I'd studied it academically. I love stories. I love all forms of literature, from the lowest end to the highest end. I like all different types of art. I think it's great. I don't think it's unhealthy to study and know about this. The problem is when it interferes with reality. So I got into martial arts because of my love of comics, and the ninja suddenly presented me with a real life superhero. I read the comics, and then I was reading supporting martial arts manuals or and books with other martial arts contained in it, where it was pretty much telling me the ninjas were like what they were in the comics. The comics were just an exaggerated version of them, and it. And then, of course, when I went to my first ninjutsu lessons, I started to discover things were very, very different to what I was perceiving. I didn't get heavily involved into ninjutsu, although up to that point I was massively invested in it. Was I like the cult follower? Well, luckily distance was a problem for me. But probably if that club was on my doorstep, I would have heavily got invested in ninjutsu, and I might have been a different type of martial artist than I am to this day. Instead, it was a long way away, and it wasn't easy to maintain. So I went to my other local martial arts school, and that was, again, a bit further away from all the mystique and nonsense out there. But it didn't mean that I didn't go down a few rabbit holes along the way, and just believed so many different things about pseudo history in martial arts that I've now found out to be utter nonsense. And but yeah, to this day I still love it. I love the whole ninja thing of the 80s, and I got this just to remind myself in many ways. This is how I began. This is what hooked me in many ways. So many people will watch a martial arts movie or fantasy, or read a book or comic book or something that gets them into martial arts, and later on find out that it's completely separate to that, but it's what got them there in the first place. So I haven't got a problem with it from that perspective. What the problem is when the fantasy merges with the reality in our minds, and that's why the critical thinking part of it is again incredibly important. So back to the original point, I wear this now to just show that I'm just the same as anybody else on this kind of thing. I'm a romantic at heart. But I can make a separation, and I think a lot of times that's what we've got to do. But we've also got to be aware that we can believe all sorts of nonsense and urban legends. Now, I'm hoping to expose some of that in some of my webinars that I've got going on at the moment. There's one coming up on the 7th of June, which is the second part of my soft skills series. And here and there, I'll be raising certain points that I don't think are always raised on self-protection courses, because it's a lot easier just to give people the straightforward methods that we've always followed. The last course I did, we had a look at things like the OODA loop and the Cooper color code, and we critically examined them and looked at possibly better methods for teaching for self-protection and the weaknesses of those methods as they're taught verbatim in the self-protection world. And these things need discussing and unpacking, and we need to always be moving forward and always be trying to update our information. I also made it very relevant to the current lockdown situation that we're in at the moment too. So that's just another example of trying to be progressive in what we're doing, and to be skeptical about our own training and our own beliefs as well. So I hope this has been helpful. If you did enjoy it, then please like and put a comment down below, and of course subscribe to the channel. There's plenty of information on the website, clubbchimera.com, where I have a regular blog. I have a podcast as well, please check that out, and also the video channel on YouTube. So thank you very much, and keep training.